This is Parker Millsap, and you're listening to The Barn.
I'm gonna take you to my house on the streets, a long back train going clickety-click. I'm begging like service, I'm begging like this, I'm begging.
Hi, and welcome to The Barn, live from the Barn studio. We have a special guest joining us online right now. We have Mr. Parker Millsap. Parker, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Really good. We're excited you're coming into town this weekend, Friday, June 2nd at Off Broadway in St. Louis, Missouri. Doors 7, show at 8. We can't wait to have you back in town at Off Broadway.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, man. It seems like it's going to be a busy summer for you.
We're going to try to make it that way.
Right.
I'm going all over the place.
I have to tell you, I was reading your one sheet that your publicist sent over and saw the quote from Elton John, which is just crazy, by the way. I guess Elton John saw you and Sarah, and he said it's one of the best concerts he's ever seen, and he even said it restored his faith in music.
Yeah, that's crazy.
How did that happen? Tell us a little bit about that.
So the story that I heard, and I'm not sure all of the exact details, but the story that I heard is that Roseanne Cash somehow had heard of my music and was a fan, and she went to a party somewhere where everybody brought records to listen to, and she played one of my records, and Elton happened to be at this party, and I guess he really liked it, and not too long after his people reached out to my people, basically, and you know, let us know that he was a fan. And then I ended up getting to go like play a show with him. I got to go see his show in Vegas. Yeah, pretty crazy. And then he came to our show in Atlanta. Yeah, kind of surreal.
I would imagine so. And when you're getting ready to perform and you know Elton John's in the crowd somewhere, right? Does that change things?
You know, I just tried to do my best like I do every night, but I was definitely aware that he was right there.
That's amazing. I will say this, you know, and I haven't been around as long as Elton, and I haven't been to as many concerts and shows, but I will say I've been to a lot. And you playing at Knuckleheads in Kansas City, I want to say maybe like 5 years ago or so, was one of the best concert experiences I've ever had in my life.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, it was like just the perfect night, perfect weather. And I know you played Knuckleheads. You're even playing it this weekend. But you know how there's a train that literally will drive, you know, right by as you're performing, and you like acknowledge the train. It was just such a great night and such a great performance.
Awesome. Yeah, I love playing Knuckleheads. The train scares me every time. I always know it's coming, but it still gets me. Yeah.
Real excited about this new album as well, Wilderness Within You. Seems a little bit of maybe a different album or a different style for you. How has your style and your music changed over the years?
Sometimes it's hard to tell how it's changed, you know, because for me it's all been real slow. But I think with this record, I wrote more material than I had ever written before to try and sort through for this record. So I think I just had a lot more to choose from and a lot more to try to squeeze in on this record. You know, the big difference for this record with regards to like how it was recorded and stuff is that I didn't really do a lot of rehearsal with a band before going in. All my previous records, I've done quite a bit of rehearsing with a band and then go in and try to cut as much of it live as I can with the band that we've rehearsed with, so we all know exactly what we're going to be doing when we get in there. But on this record, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do so much pre-planning. I just wanted to go in and have some good musicians and let everybody, you know, trust their instincts and be creative. And so we did that. You know, I did a lot of pre-production with the producer Ryan, picking out the songs and things like that. And, you know, even like picking keys and general tempos and stuff, but we did no rehearsals with the band. And then we booked studio time and booked the guys, and then just showed up and played them the first demo and said, okay, let's go do it. So it was a very different recording experience for me, because I didn't really know exactly how it was going to go before we got in there. And it ended up working really well. You know, there are certain songs where we had to chase it around for a few days to find out how it wanted to go, but we ended up with something that I think is really unique and really of the moment. You know, to me, the record feels like it's happening in the moment. It doesn't feel overthought. It doesn't feel constructed. You know, it feels like people playing music.
To me, it sounds like a very introspective record. Is this a heavy record? Heavy in the sense of the content and the lyrics and the themes?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've like all of us, the past few years, I've been learning about a lot of big things. I feel like we've all been kind of forced to try to educate ourselves on what's going on in the world. And, you know, some of the things, I think that the things that I find overwhelming are the things that I tend to write about, because I'm trying to figure out how to process it, how to figure out my relationship to it, you know. So this record has a lot to do with, you know, that climate change is a word, ecosystem collapse is a word. Yeah, there's a lot to do with that. Industrialism, you know, these are all things that I was kind of born into as they're happening. But it takes some time to realize what's going on. And so I've just, started to learn more and try to figure out my place in it all. You know, how do I help work toward a better future?
Can I quote you real quick?
Please.
You say, or at least I think you say, a lot of the songs are based on questions I have about the way our systems work, who they benefit and why, in a way I don't think that I've questioned before. On the album, I'm being really honest about what's important to me and what has been on my mind the past few years. The price of progress, the interconnectedness of life, awe, gratitude, wisdom, you know, no biggie. Is this an important time coming out of what we have in the past few years? Is this is this one of the most important times for art and music and expression?
I think so. And I say that not to say that like what I do in my record is super important, but I think it's important that we start to try to envision new ways, new systems, new better ways. You know, a lot of times we are kind of told this narrative that all the technology of our modern age is making our lives better by making it easier. But I think that our lives are better when they're more, you know, connected to each other, and when we learn to rely on each other and then fulfill each other's, you know, expectations of each other. I think that there are a lot of things that I'm being very vague here. There are a lot of things we can do better. You know, for me, particularly with regards to protecting ecosystems that already exist. We've already torn down so many forests to build Walmarts. Maybe we can stop doing that, you know. And then, you know, things like food security. There are a lot of hungry people in the United States, and we grow more food than has ever existed before. How does that compute? You know, how do we get the things that we know how to make to the people who need them without, you know, putting money between us and everybody else?
One of the things that stands out with that quote for me is you talk about the price of progress.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a pretty direct question about that?
Yes, please.
What are your thoughts about the current AI, Chat GPT, and kind of where you think maybe this is headed or where we're at now?
Yeah, I kind of think it depends on the context you're talking about. You know, I think if we use things like AI and Chat GPT to learn ways to make people's lives actually better, I think that'd be good. I haven't seen any uses of it so far that seem to be pointing in that direction to me. To me, most of it seems to be about consolidating more wealth for big corporations who can employ these giant algorithms to do their work instead of people. You know, with respect to art in particular, I think that, you know, the point of art is that a human made it.
Right.
And when it's just an amalgamation of a bunch of things that could be maybe human-esque, that doesn't do much for me. And you know, from a I guess, philosophical, spiritual standpoint, it kind of undermines the point of art in the first place, which is to reach out and connect with each other and show you, look, this is who I am. And I don't really know who AI is showing me who they are. So with respect to art, it just doesn't really interest me. I think that there are surely, tools that can be used to foster expression, but I just don't necessarily think that telling the computer, hey, what if it was like a Blink 182 song, but it was Frank Sinatra singing it? Like, that's not art to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's fun, cool. But really my concern is that big companies will start firing their artists. That way they can just generate content and stuff for free with AI and, to the detriment of the artists and not only their lives, but their skills and their output and the things that they could further inspire, Is that sort of what you're touching on, or at least one of the aspects when you talk about the price of progress? Yes, absolutely. I could go for about 6 hours on this topic, but I think that to keep it simple, I guess the example that I can use is like if you've ever grown a tomato and eaten it, you know how much better that tomato tastes when you've grown it yourself, when you went out and checked on it every day, when you watered it every day. That tomato means a lot more to you. And honestly, especially with our current food production system, it's probably way more nutritious than the tomato you're buying at the store. Even if you grow it in your not so great front yard soil, you're picking it when it's ripe, not, way beforehand and then ripening it with chemicals. So when I think about the price of progress, I think about those kinds of things, being disconnected from our own source of being, our own source of food and water and meaning, but also disconnected from our own well-being. Like growing food is very rewarding in a way that, buying a can of soda pop isn't. And I think when we just let everybody else do our work for us, we miss out on a lot of the inherent joy of having a relationship with our planet and our own sustenance. This is kind of a, not great metaphor, but what you're talking about sort of reminds me of the thing you hear with people winning the lottery, that like within so many years, they are flat broke or, even worse off than they were before when they won the lottery. And I think it's because what you're talking about is there's no value there. Money's money, but it's not something you worked hard for. It's not something you acquired on your own. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And, in a lot of ways if you want to think of it like this, we've won the lottery as far as the time and place we're born, we were born into a time and place of that where things can be pretty easy for us in a lot of ways that they didn't used to be. There's definitely elements of that on this record of just being, grateful for the things that we do have. And I know that seems to be a theme that runs throughout it. Yeah, definitely. The more I experience the world, the more I realize like how lucky I am in a lot of ways. And I don't mean just because like I'm a white guy with a career in the arts. I just mean like the fact that anything exists in the first place is pretty astonishing. As far as we know, we've been searching for a while now, it seems like, and we don't know of any other life out there, y'all. This is the one place we know that there is life. That's crazy. That's yeah. I don't know what else to be besides grateful for that. Yeah, you kind of always see that video where, it's like zoomed in to your town or something, and then it zooms out to your state and then your nation and then your planet, and then, keeps going, and sort of a reminder of how small we actually are in this bigger thing, whatever that is, and whatever your beliefs are, whatever. Oh yeah, it's amazing every time. It's it's a great reminder that we're all in the same boat. Yeah, we're getting real deep here. Let's change gears. Talking about the music industry, you've been a professional musician for many years. How have you seen it change throughout the years, and what do you think of its current state? The main thing that I've noticed especially in the past few years, like particularly since 2020, is that everything has been kind of driven online. Like a lot of the media outlets that would normally cover music and stuff have started to cover way less music, and like a lot of the late night shows that would normally have musical guests throughout the year now only do it like once a week, maybe, things like that. So a lot of the promotional systems that existed before have now been like moved to social media and stuff like that. So that's definitely different. And also I think, but at the same time, streaming has really become like a major driver, like enough people use it now that, if you work hard and people are streaming, you can actually like, make a living on streaming. And I know that's not the case for everybody. Again, I'm very fortunate to have like the label situation that I do, and also that I have great fans who stream my stuff. But that's been interesting that as, CD sales and stuff like that have slowed down, streaming has really like come to meet some of that in a way, so for better or worse, I have no idea. It's just definitely different now.
Can we talk about a few,
and as a consumer, frankly, I think that streaming is great. I've discovered a ton of really good music, from streaming platforms, and the algorithm like figuring me out and feeding me stuff, that I probably wouldn't have discovered otherwise. Yeah. But, like we were talking about the price of progress earlier, used to, you'd go down to the guy at the record store and he was your algorithm.
Right. Would you say you kind of benefited from like the Spotify playlist? Because correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Hades Pleads, didn't it end up on some playlist that sort of not forced it, but gave it a bigger audience?
Oh, absolutely. That's like, I've got songs out there right now that are on Spotify playlists from my new record that are bringing new people to the table. That's one of the upsides of the whole thing is that, if people are into things that are adjacent to what you do, it's very easy for them to find what you do. And yeah, like the playlist thing can be a huge driver. They're really good at putting together playlists that people like, and they listen to those playlists.
Which, by the way, over 10 million Spotify streams. Here, we got this here. Great song right there. Great album too. But let's talk about a few of the new ones, specifically So Far Apart in the music video. So this wave of light that kind of is all throughout the video, I kind of liken it to like the Pulp Fiction briefcase. You don't really know what it is. It's like you open it up and you see the light. Can you tell us about the music video?
Yeah. I've been involved to varying degrees with my music videos over my career, and I've kind of figured out that I'm not great at that. The things that I've, like where I've been in the music video, I look back and I'm like, I'm not much of an actor. And then things where it's my idea conceptually, I look back and I'm like, maybe could have had a better concept. So for all the stuff for this record, I got this guy named Austin Lee to help me out. And the video, the shooting, all of that is his concept. But loosely the concept is, I'm sure for everybody, the light will represent something different. I'm sure Austin would give you a different answer than I will. But for me, it's that human connection, that's the thing that we all want, that we go all over and do all our crazy things we do. It's because we want to connect with people. We want to feel whole and belong,
Super neat concept. Do you think, you talk about kind of like stepping aside and letting somebody else come up with the concept and video. Do you think that's part of your success, is like knowing when to tap yourself out and let somebody else, maybe not take charge, but be involved?
Yeah, I've just, gradually learned, like I spend so much of my time thinking about music and songs and that. And the visual part of your brain is a different thing. That's a different skill. And especially when it comes to like video and photography. There are things that you think, well, you just point it at the person and hit record. How hard could it be? But the more I learn about that stuff, I'm always like, oh no, there's a reason. It's its own whole path. And I recognize that that's not necessarily what I'm good at. I'm much better at playing guitar and singing than doing music video stuff. So when it, and you gotta have content. So I'm gonna let somebody who really knows about that do it.
Speaking of playing guitar and singing songs, we have to talk about the title track and specifically your guest appearance on that. What was it like working with Gillian and that song in particular?
I mean, it was a dream come true. I have been a Gillian fan since the Oh Brother movies. Ever since Oh Brother, Where Art Thou movie came out. My dad was obsessed. We watched it like once a month when I was growing up, and we had the soundtrack and all that. So that's where I was first introduced to Gillian. And then, later on, I think I was in high school when I got the Time the Revelator record, and it's just like, what is this otherworldly but very earthly music,
Yeah.
So when I wrote the song, I took it in to the producer and played it, and he was like, great. I think we should do it kind of like that, just you and an acoustic guitar. And I was like, cool, I feel good about that. And he said, what about some harmonies? I was like, yeah, we should get a lady to sing on this. And Gillian was the first name that came up. He was like, okay, well, let's make a list. I said, well, let's start with Gillian Welch, and if we can't get Gillian, then we'll move on. But my former manager, who's now retired, he worked with Gillian for a long time. And so I reached out to him and was like, hey, Norm, can you help us out? Can I get Gillian's number? And he's like, well, you can't have Gillian's number, but I'll reach out to her and see if she's interested. So yeah, he reached out for us and she was into it. So a couple weeks later we got together and did the thing. She came to the studio and, we played through it maybe 2 times without the mics on. And then we turned on the mics, and I think we did like 6 or 7 takes and just picked the best one. But, we did it, no headphones, none of that. We just stood there and sang it. It was really nice. It's always nice when you get to approach a recording like that, where you just do it once or do it enough times to get a good take and then not mess with it too much after the fact.
That's amazing. We can't wait to catch you when you come into town Friday, June 2nd at Off Broadway in St. Louis, Missouri. Doors are at 7, shows at 8. And everybody can go get your album, available everywhere. Wilderness Within You. Parker Millsap, we appreciate your time today, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
There's a wilderness within you. There's a forest in your heart. There's a wilderness within you, and it's been there since the start. There's an oak tree tall and mighty. There's a sparrow small and frail. That old creek's always winding down a million rabbit trails. There's a molehill like a mountain. In the mountain there's a cave. A brand new mama shouting while the wolves haul off her babe. There's a wilderness within you, a coral reef inside your soul. There's a wilderness within you, and it's out of your control. There's a hill that's ever rolling. There's a sea that's never still. There's a story still unfolding, and I wish it always would.